Look at her, still playing with that little phone app like a teenager, my brother, Mark, sneered from across the Christmas dinner table. Seriously, Sarah, when are you going to grow up and get a real job? That job at Bright Tech isn't exactly a career. I sat there, biting my tongue, trying to maintain my composure as my family's judgment weighed on me. It was Christmas Eve at my parents' house, just me, Mark, our parents, and my Aunt Diane. The smell of roasted ham and cinnamon filled the air, but all I could feel was the heavy cloud of disapproval. My name is Sarah Collins, and I'm 29 years old. For the past 4 years, I've worked at Bright Tech, a consumer electronics store, while secretly developing an AI-driven inventory management system. The retail job wasn't just about paying the bills, it was hands-on research. Every time a customer struggled to find a product or an inventory system failed, I noted the flaw and used it to improve my app. But try explaining that to my family. Sarah, sweetheart, my mother said with that familiar, condescending tone. Mark's just looking out for you. Look at him. He's already a senior financial analyst at 32. We just want you to be stable. I glanced at my phone again, trying to hide my excitement as I reread the latest email from Amazon's tech division. They were impressed with my prototype and wanted to schedule a final meeting. But I kept quiet. I had learned long ago that sharing my dreams with my family only led to ridicule. She's probably just playing some silly game, Mark scoffed, reaching for another roll. Remember when she said she was learning to code? As if someone who barely made it through pre-calculus could actually build something valuable. My father nodded in agreement. Tech is a tough industry, honey. Maybe you should let Mark introduce you to someone in finance. A stable career. I took a deep breath, pocketed my phone, and forced a smile. You're right. I'm probably just wasting my time. The word stung, but I reminded myself that tomorrow would change everything. The meeting with Amazon's executives was scheduled for 10 a.m. sharp. From across the table, my Aunt Diane caught my eye and gave me a subtle nod. She was the only one who knew what I had been working on, and her quiet support meant everything. I looked around at my family as they continued their Christmas dinner, laughing as if they hadn't just dismissed my ambitions. The familiar ache in my chest resurfaced, the same one I had felt for years. Growing up in Seattle, I was always the odd one out. While Mark thrived in social settings and aced every class, I spent my time tinkering with old computers and watching coding tutorials. My father called it a phase, but I was teaching myself, learning through trial and error. Remember when Sarah tried to build a website for Mom's yoga group? Mark's voice cut through my thoughts. What a disaster. What they didn't know is that disaster was my first real coding project. It was rough, sure, but it taught me critical lessons about web development, skills that later helped me refine my app. Well, at least she's dependable at the store, my father said, as if that was the most praise he could offer. Her manager says she's always on time. If only they knew that my manager, Lisa, was one of my app's biggest supporters. She had seen firsthand how my system could track inventory, predict demand, and prevent stock issues. You're solving real problems here, Sarah, she had told me last week. Don't let anyone make you feel small for that. But my family didn't see that side of me. To them, I was still the unfocused younger sibling who needed to be rescued. And that was fine. Tomorrow, when I stepped into that meeting with Amazon's executives, I would prove them all wrong. Maya reached under the table and squeezed my hand. 3 months ago, when I had first shown her the prototype, she had immediately understood its potential. They'll see eventually, she whispered, her voice low enough that only I could hear. My mother started clearing the plates, and I instinctively rose to help. Ethan, tell us more about your new promotion, she said, beaming with pride. Your father and I were just telling the neighbors about it yesterday. I carried dishes to the kitchen, my mind drifting back to the countless nights I had worked on my app after long, grueling shifts at Bright Tech. Running on coffee and sheer determination, I had pushed forward, refining my program line by line. The neighbors might hear about Ethan's promotion tonight, but by tomorrow, they'd be reading about my success in the morning news. My phone buzzed again, another email from Google's team confirming tomorrow's meeting. I allowed myself a small smile as I rinsed the dishes. Let them think I was just a retail worker with unrealistic dreams. By this time tomorrow, everything would change. After dinner, I retreated to my childhood bedroom, needing a moment alone. The space remained frozen in time, just as I had left it. My old computer still sat on the desk, the same one where I had written my first lines of code. From downstairs, I could hear my family's voices drifting up, their laughter punctuated by the occasional mention of my name. I opened my laptop to review my presentation for tomorrow's meeting when a notification popped up. It was from Jordan, an old classmate who now worked at Midtown Tech's corporate office. What I read made my blood run cold. "Ava, you need to know something. Ethan came by the office last week asking a lot of questions about your app and your work schedule." I thought it was weird, but my hands trembled as I scrolled through the rest of his message. Apparently, Ethan had been gathering information about my project, claiming he was concerned about my career choices. He had even tried to access my work computer. A soft knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Maya. "Hey, you okay? You disappeared pretty quickly after dinner." She sat beside me on the bed, concern written all over her face. "Ethan tried to spy on my project," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "He went to my workplace." Maya's expression darkened. "Because he knows. Maybe not the details, but he suspects you're onto something big. I overheard him talking to your mom earlier. He's worried you'll embarrass yourself by presenting an amateur app to actual tech companies." The pieces clicked into place. Ethan's pointed comments at dinner, my parents' increasing criticism of my career choices, the constant push toward a so-called stable job in marketing. They weren't just dismissing my dreams, they were actively trying to discourage me from succeeding. "Look at this," Maya said, pulling out her phone. She showed me Ethan's latest Instagram post. It was a photo of his office, captioned, "Time to help my little sister find her path. Sometimes tough love is the best love. #family first." The condescension in those words made my chest tighten. All the nights I had spent debugging my code, testing the user interface, fixing one bug just for another to appear, none of it mattered to them. To my own family, I was just a retail worker with delusions of grandeur. "I can't believe I was going to tell them about the Google meeting tomorrow," I said quietly, closing my laptop. "I was actually going to share my success with them." Maya squeezed my shoulder. "Then don't let them find out from you." I turned to her, and she smiled knowingly. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting people's assumptions blow up in their faces. She was right. Tomorrow, they would learn the truth. But not from me. Sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Louder than words. I barely slept that night, my mind racing with thoughts of tomorrow's meeting and Mark's betrayal. At 6 a.m., I quietly packed my laptop and presentation materials, planning to leave before anyone else woke up. But as I crept down the stairs, I heard voices from the kitchen. "I'm telling you, Mom, we need to stop this now." Mark's voice was sharp in the early morning quiet. "Sarah is going to humiliate herself with this app thing. I saw what she's working on at Bright Tech. It's just basic inventory tracking. Nothing special." I froze on the stairs, my heart pounding. How did he know the details of my project? "I spoke with my friend at the corporate office," Mark continued. "There's no record of Sarah filing anything. We can't let her waste her life on this fantasy." My mother sighed. "Maybe we should call Amazon's HR department. Warn them that she might not be what they're expecting." The genuine concern in her voice somehow hurt more than Mark's scheming. They really thought they were protecting me from myself. I stepped into the kitchen, making my presence known. "You don't need to worry about calling anyone," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I can handle my own career choices." They jumped, startled by my appearance. Mark recovered first, his face shifting into a practiced, sympathetic smile. "Sarah, we're just trying to help. This app of yours, it's sweet that you're trying, but you're not a real developer. You need to be realistic." "Realistic?" I pulled out my phone and opened my development portfolio. Like how I've been realistically working on this project for 3 years? Or how I've realistically been teaching myself programming since high school. "Sweetheart," my mother started, "Mark works with real tech companies. He knows what they're looking for." "No, he doesn't," I cut in. "He works in marketing. He has no idea what my app actually does because he only saw the basic interface we use at the store. The real system is much more complex. Mark's smile faltered slightly. I was just at your workplace last week. I saw everything. You saw what I wanted you to see, I replied, gathering my courage. The store version is just a small part of the full system. But you wouldn't understand that, would you? Because you were too busy trying to sabotage me to actually ask what I was working on. The kitchen fell silent. Through the window, I could see the sun rising over the Seattle skyline, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. In a few hours, everything would change. I have a meeting to get to, I said, turning to leave. Don't bother calling Amazon. They already know exactly who I am and what I can do. Sarah, wait, my mother called after me. We're your family. We just want to protect you from disappointment. I paused at the door, thinking of all the nights I had spent coding, all the tutorials I had studied, all the test runs and bug fixes. They had no idea what I was capable of because they had never bothered to look past their own assumptions. Sometimes, I said quietly, the people who think they're protecting you are actually just protecting their own view of who you should be. With that, I walked out, leaving them standing in the kitchen. The morning air was crisp and cool, filled with possibility. I had a meeting to get to, and I wasn't going to let anyone stand in my way. Amazon's headquarters was intimidating, all glass and polished steel, bustling with professionals who moved with purpose. As I sat in the waiting area, my phone kept buzzing with messages from my family. I ignored them all, except for Maya's. They're freaking out. Mark's been making calls all morning trying to figure out what's really going on. A sleek elevator carried me to the executive floor, where Rachel, my store manager, was waiting. The sight of her familiar face in this unexpected setting made me stop short. Surprise, she said, grinning. Did you really think I was just a retail manager? I've been Amazon's head of retail innovation for the past year, evaluating new technologies in real-world settings. My mind raced, remembering all the times Rachel had offered suggestions for my app, all the questions she had asked about its capabilities. What I had thought was friendly interest had actually been professional evaluation. Mark came to the store last week, Rachel continued, her expression turning serious. He tried to access your development files, claiming he was your business partner. When that didn't work, he implied you might have stolen the concept from his marketing firm. I felt the blood drain from my face. He what? Don't worry, Rachel assured me. We have security footage of his attempts to access your computer. Plus, we've been documenting your development process since I first noticed your prototype 6 months ago. His claims won't hold up. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The meeting room was already full of executives when we entered. I pulled out my laptop, my hands steady despite the racing pulse in my chest. This was my moment. Good morning, everyone, I began. For the past 3 years, I've been developing an AI-powered inventory system that doesn't just track products, it predicts customer behavior, streamlines supply chains, and adapts to real-time market changes. As I demonstrated the system, I could see their eyes light up with interest. The AI's ability to predict inventory needs based on weather patterns, local events, and social media trends was unlike anything currently on the market. This is impressive, said the chief technology officer. But why test it in a small electronics store? I smiled. Because retail is where the real problems are. Working on the sales floor showed me what customers and employees actually need, not what executives think they need. The presentation continued, and with each feature I demonstrated, I could see them becoming more convinced. When I finished, there was a moment of silence. We'd like to make you an offer, the CTO finally said. Not just for the system, but for you to join us as Deputy Director of Retail Innovation, working alongside Rachel. He wrote a number on the whiteboard. I felt my breath catch. It was more money than my entire family made in a year. One more thing, Rachel added. We're planning to implement your system in all Amazon stores and partner retailers by next quarter. The announcement goes out tomorrow morning. Partner retailers, including BrightTech, where my family store was a franchise. They would have to use my system, the one they had dismissed as a waste of time. As I signed the preliminary paperwork, my phone buzzed again, a message from Maya. Mark is in full panic mode. He just found out his company's biggest client is Amazon, and they're announcing a major retail tech acquisition tomorrow. He's worried it might affect his marketing contracts. I put my phone away, suppressing a smile. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. That evening, back at my hotel room, I was reviewing the final acquisition paperwork when my phone erupted with notifications. Mark had apparently discovered that his marketing firm's newest project, a complete retail technology overhaul for their clients, was being suspended, pending a major announcement from Amazon. A new message popped up. Mark, Sarah, we need to talk. This is serious. Please call me. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then, I silenced my phone and went back to signing the contract. Tomorrow, they'd find out everything but not from me. I was about to turn off my phone when it rang. Rachel, just wanted to warn you, she said. Your brother's firm has been trying to get information about tomorrow's announcement. He's claiming he needs to protect his family's interests. I've had to block 3 calls from him already. I sighed, rubbing my temples. He's probably worried about his marketing contracts. It's more than that, Rachel hesitated. Sarah, he's been telling people he helped develop your system. Says he provided the core marketing concepts that made it work. My hands clenched into fists. Even now, Mark was trying to take credit for my work. A lifetime of being overshadowed by him flashed through my mind. Every achievement diminished, every dream mocked. There's something else you should know, Rachel continued. Your parents' store isn't just any Bright Tech franchise. According to our records, it's one of their top-performing locations on the West Coast. They've been using that success to block smaller franchises from opening in the area. The revelation hit me hard. All those times they had dismissed my retail job. All the times they had belittled my work. They had been profiting from the same industry they mocked me for working in. My phone buzzed again. A message from my father. Just heard about Amazon's announcement tomorrow. Mark says it might affect our store. What do you know about this? Before I could respond, another message came through, this time from my mother. Honey, please tell Mark he can help fix whatever problem you've created. He has connections. I felt a familiar pain in my chest, but this time it was accompanied by something else. Determination. For years, they had used their success to justify undermining mine. Tomorrow, that would end. I called Maya to share the latest developments. Your brother's been calling everyone he knows at Amazon, she reported. He's desperate to find out what's happening. And your parents? They're worried sick about their precious store. They should be, I said quietly. My system doesn't just track inventory. It identifies unfair market practices, including how larger franchises sometimes block smaller competitors. Maya was silent for a moment. Then, so, when your system goes live, it'll flag their store for anti-competitive practices? Yes, I took a deep breath. They'll have to change how they operate, just like every other franchise. Maya's voice softened. Sarah, are you sure about this? It's your family. Families shouldn't try to sabotage each other, I replied. Besides, I'm not doing this for revenge. The system flags these issues because they hurt small businesses. My family will just have to adapt like everyone else. As I prepared for bed, I thought about tomorrow's announcement. My family would learn about my success, not through a quiet conversation, but through a public revelation that would shake their comfortable world. Sometimes, karma comes in the form of a software update. The morning of the announcement, I sat in Amazon's press conference room, watching the live stream of the event on multiple screens. The CEO stood at the podium, addressing a virtual audience of retail executives and franchise owners. On one of the screens, I spotted my family's shocked faces among the Bright Tech franchise owners attending remotely. This innovative system, the CEO announced, was developed by our new Deputy Director of Retail Innovation, Sarah Collins. She spent 3 years perfecting it while working on the front lines of retail herself. I watched as the camera feed from the franchise meeting captured my family's reactions perfectly. My mother's coffee cup slipped from her fingers. My father's face drained of all color. And Mark? His expression shifted from confusion to horror as he realized the implications. The CEO continued, explaining how the system would ensure fair market practices, prevent inventory hoarding, and open opportunities for smaller businesses. Mark's firm's biggest client was Amazon. Their entire marketing strategy revolved around helping larger franchises dominate smaller competitors. And tomorrow, that would be impossible. Practices across all franchises. I watched as my parents exchanged worried glances, no doubt thinking about their territory control tactics that would soon be exposed. My phone lit up with a message from Mark. You need to stop this now. Do you have any idea what this will do to Mom and Dad's business? To my marketing contracts? I left it unanswered. The presentation continued, with Rachel demonstrating the system's features. Starting next week, this will be the mandatory management system for all Bright Tech locations, she announced. No exceptions. I thought about all the times they had laughed at my little app. All the times they told me to stick to retail. Well, I had stuck to retail. And now retail would stick with them in ways they never expected. In the days following the announcement, my family's carefully constructed world began to crumble. Their Bright Tech store was flagged for multiple anti-competitive practices, requiring immediate changes to their operation model. Mark's marketing firm lost several major contracts as his clients switched to agencies with experience in the new system. I received a lengthy email from my mother, full of mixed emotions. Guilt over dismissing my abilities, fear about their business's future, and a desperate plea for help. Dad called twice, leaving voicemails that shifted from angry accusations to humble apologies. Mark, predictably, tried a different approach. He showed up at Amazon's offices, claiming he had critical insights about the system's development. Security footage showed him being politely but firmly escorted out after Rachel revealed the documented evidence of his previous attempts to sabotage my work. Maya visited me in my new office, now with a stunning view of downtown Seattle. How does it feel? She asked, gesturing to the nameplate on my desk. Sarah Collins, Deputy Director of Retail Innovation. Surreal, I admitted, looking out at the city skyline in the distance. But right. My phone buzzed, another message from my parents. They wanted to meet. They needed help transitioning to the new system. I placed the phone face down on my desk, focusing instead on the future ahead of me. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about moving forward and letting others face the consequences of underestimating you. If you've been following my journey, you know this wasn't just about proving a point, it was about proving myself. For years, I was told to stay in my lane, to keep my ambitions small, to accept that success belonged to someone else. I made it. But what about you? Have you ever been underestimated? Told that your dreams were too big, that you're pointless, that success reserved for others, but not you. How did you handle it? I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below, rise above. And if you're still fighting to prove, don't stop. The people too afraid to your vision is yours alone. Key. Now, let's hear it. Comment below, share your story, and let's talk about how we rise above those who underestimate us. Speech balloon.